So the audit presentation I mentioned is this evening, and I want to thank all of our city departments who assist with putting it together, especially Fiscal Services Department. It's a long process and it can be cumbersome, but I think they have it streamlined very well and they complete it in a timely and efficient manner. And with that, introduced Jamie Rivette from Yo & Yo, who is our lead for the audit.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me here tonight. I see some familiar faces and some new faces. I've been here for a while now and get to present the audit results. So just to point out a few things before we get started, this is an audit through June 30th of 2024. So anything I say tonight is up through that date and nothing past that. So we'll go ahead and get started here. And I believe you should all have PDF copy with you too, and I'm just going to go over the highlights. I did meet with the internal team about a week and a half ago where we went through the financial statements in depth. So to get started, I'd just like to point out what the audit is for, and it's really for an independent CPA firm to come in, audit the information presented, and then issue you an opinion on those financial statements. Management are the ones that are responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of those financial statements in accordance with the generally accepted accounting principles, which are the rule-setting body, if you will, for what needs to be included. And then as your auditors, my team and I come on site. We're here for about 2 to 3 weeks, and we audit the information presented. We're asking a lot of questions and following up on items that are presented to us, and the city was issued an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance offered. It means there's no material modifications that need to be made to those financial statements. I also just like to point out that the city also received an award for their financial reporting excellence from the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association, for 2023 for your annual comprehensive financial report. So congratulations to the city and everybody involved in that. It is a lot of hard work and a big accomplishment. So now we'll talk about some of the numbers. Now the next few slides I have are on your general fund, and this is your operating fund of the city. And that's really where we'll spend most of the time tonight, just touching on those. And I always think a picture is a lot easier to visualize and see instead of trying to talk through some numbers across a page. So a few things I'll point out here. For your general fund revenue, we did have 50% of that was coming from intergovernmental sources. So what that is you did receive state shared revenue, which you receive every year of about $9.4 million. And then this year was a unique year as the city did receive a pension grant from the state of about, in your general fund, it was about $22.6 million. So in a couple of slides, you're going to see that exact same amount as an expenditure. So it's a revenue and an expenditure, net effect of 0. So I just wanted to point that out. It's going to skew some of my slides that you're going to see tonight, and I'll point that out. But that is because of the pension funds not being 60% funded. The state of Michigan did then grant municipalities some funds for that, and they told us exactly how to record it. So you do see that as an increase here. In the next slide, you'll see why I wanted to point that out to you. Then we have property taxes of making up 6% of your total general fund revenue. That was up slightly over last year. We did have an increase in taxable values, a slight decrease in the millage rate for the year we were auditing. And then income taxes making up about 24% of that total, which was up over last year of about $1 million. There are more people back to work, less remote work happening, so we did see an increase there on that city income tax. So this is a slide I was telling you about why I wanted to point that out, because if you look at this 2018 through 2023, it's pretty steady, a little increase in 2021 there, but then you see a skyrocket for 2024. So the majority of that increase, like I said, is that pension grant. That money did not come to the city. It went directly into your pension fund. So $22.6 million of this increase was related to that. We also saw an increase in some purchase agreements that you had for a street sweeper that the city purchased and a fire truck this year, as well as an increase in the investment income as the market had a bunch better performance this year, so we saw an increase there over last year. Now, again, looking at your general fund, now we're switching gears and looking at the expenditure side, so the money going out of the city for the general fund. And you can see public safety makes up the largest portion here of about 63%. That's broken into fire and police. So police is about 27.1 million, and then fire is 15 million. So that pension grant expenses are really distributed throughout these categories. Most of them are related to police and fire, though, so it did increase those expenditures related to that. So 67 million in total expenditures for your general fund. Again, here's the chart we've been looking at, comparing those expenditures year over year. And again, the significant increase is related to the pension expense side of that too. We also saw an increase this year in your capital outlay because of the fire truck purchase and that street sweeper as well compared to last year, with the increase in the transfers out of your general fund this year. And all expenditures were within budget, which is approved by City Council. Now, my next two slides are on your, what we call the enterprise funds, your water fund and your sewer fund. So these are more like a business. They are services that are, you get fees for and your charges for the services that the city then collects. So we have inflows and outflows here. And our inflows did increase. The city did receive some that pension grant money for your sewer fund as well, about 6.2 million related to that. And we saw an increase in the outflows too related to multiple construction projects that the city has going on in your sewer fund. And similar slide here too for your water fund. And I did go back and look because I couldn't remember why 2021 was so high for your inflows, but that was a refunding bond year, so we did have some additional proceeds that came in that we had an increase in the inflows there. So we did see increases here in your inflows. Customer fees increased slightly, as well as investment income compared to prior year, with the outflows also increasing because of that pension grant, as well as about a $5 million increase in some capital projects that we had too in the water fund this year. So I have a slide in here on your pension and your OPEB or your retiree health care too, just so I want to point out. So contributions into the plan was a little over 7 million for your retiree health care, and then the pension was about 20.5 million. Those are the contributions into the plan for the year. And then we do have significant, benefit payments going out too, just to let you know, the pension payments going out of the plan was about 30.3 million, with OPEB about 7.3 million. And then in addition to auditing the financial statements, the audit standards require us to gain an understanding of the city's internal controls and the processes over what we call your key transaction cycles. So we are happy to report there were no findings, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies noted in those steps that we were required to do. So great job to your team on that. And then in addition to that piece of it too, because the city does receive and spend more than $750,000 in federal awards, we're required to do what they call a single audit, which is then focusing on just the federal grants. So we did audit the coronavirus state and local recovery funds as our major program, which was about 14.1 million of your total federal expenditures this year. So we did audit that, and we follow the federal guidelines. They tell us exactly what we need to test and report back on. And we did not have any findings that were noted, as well as there were no findings noted last year either in our testing. So with that, I would just like to thank Tim, Yolanda, Lori, and their team. As Tim mentioned before I come up here, it's a lot of work to get this couple 100-page report done, and we really appreciate their attentiveness, and they put it as a priority. And so I do really appreciate that. It's teamwork on both sides to get it out, and I think we work very well together, and I appreciate their dedication.